Hello everyone, it's Vike here, and welcome back to another video. And in this case, it's going to be of my ShineGreymon deck profile, and I just really enjoy the deck ever since the new Shine stuff came in BT12 with the gimmick of Marcus swinging and doing all that stuff. And the new support is really strong, and I've just been really enjoying it. And I will be showcasing this on TCG and just a free simulator made by Hong Zero and his team. So if you want to find it out, just go to the channel and you could just eventually find it there. And again, thank you guys for watching, and if you do enjoy my content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay tuned to my future videos. Now let's just get into the deck profile. And let's of course start off with the trades, and I was running 2 of the BT12 Colomon along with 3 of the BT14 one. This one really helps when you just want DP minus just a little bit more, and this one is still really good because of the draw. You could either run 4 of either one. I just want to try this split out, but again, really depends on you. But again, with this Colomon, you're not really swinging with your main stack, so this can still come in helpful because you can swing with the Marcus and still get the draw. So again, really depends on which ratio you want to see more of, but both are still really solid no matter what. And with my rookies, first let's start off with the EX for Agumon. This one's still really solid just because it's able to draw you cards with its inherit, and of course if you just promote it out, you gain extra memory if you have a red yellow Tamer, which all your Tamers are red and or yellow, so it's really helpful there. The BT13 Agumon I want as a follow-up just because you want to see as much as possible, and it's really helpful just to make any Marcus a Digimon, so it's kind of a nice finisher, and that way you can also just not pay for any of your Marcuses when you want to use them as Digimon, so that's really good as well. And of course you have 4 of the BT12 Agumon as your main Socho. This grabs any of your Marcuses and any of your Greymon pieces, and the inherit can still come up every once in a while to help you DP mine stuff. Then of course let's move on to the GeoGreymons, and I run 4 of the EX4 one, pretty much the same use case as the EX4 Agumon, so not really much else to say. Then we have 4 of the BT12 GeoGreymon. This one free plays a Marcus if you don't have it, and the inherit is the same thing as the BT12 Agu, so it's still really helpful. And I run 1 of the BT13 Geo just because you do want to sometimes get a Marcus from security, and this can definitely help you with that. And the inherit is the same thing as the BT13 Agu, which can help you, like say if you DP minus one guy enough, you're able to kill off, and if your opponent just has another small body, these 2 together can just kill off both bodies, which is really nice. Now let's move on to the ultimates, and in my case I was running 3 of the BT13 one, 2 of the BT12 one, and then 2 of the BT17 one. All of these have really nice use cases, where this one of course plays with Marcuses, and you could still say pop a training to go into this for 1, play the BT13 Marcus and still keep going. This one just gains you a memory if you have a yellow or red Tamer, so that's still really good. Similar use case to this, where you could just like Evo for cheap and still get memory back. And this new one, the BT17 Rise, is still really fantastic, and the more I play it, the more I really love it, because you're able to pretty much just forcefully suspend one of your Marcuses, and say if you suspend the BT12 one, you're able to pretty much like minus DP of 3k, and then go into like say any of your ShineGreymons, which is just fantastic. And if you want to use this as like a beat stick, you're more than welcome to. And I think this is just a really solid ultimate, and of course all of these protect your Marcuses. The only downside of this one is that the alt ones is just the inherit, so you have to be more wary about using this one sometimes, but still overall fantastic card, and all of these Rise Greymons just work really well. Now we move on to the Megas, and in my case I just run 4 of the BT12 Shine and then 2 of the BT7. And this one game protection is still really phenomenal, and it really helps out the deck, because that way not only is a ace setup, you can also just keep this on the board as long as possible, so that way you can keep triggering your Marcuses and whatnot. And again, just having protection on your level 6 is just really good, and the fact that it's always 3 cost. And while that's not really the biggest deal, you could also just use this in say like a yellow hybrid Marcus deck, and it'd be really solid there. So again, just I love this Mega, and it being able to have protection is just good. And this one of course has your main damage dealer, and that's why I ran out 4, just because you still want to output a lot of damage with your Marcuses. And again, comboing it off with say the BT13, you could just say make your BT12 Marcus a Digimon, and then have this on the board, make a different one so you can swing with 2 checks, and your Marcus is getting bigger with this is just really nice, and you want to see this basically all the time or as much as possible. And again, that's why I run it at 4. And for my level 7s, I just run 2 of the old boss mode and then 2 of the new one. I think seeing this as 2 of for each is still really good, because before I was running this at 1 and then this at 2, and frankly sometimes I just want to see both in hand, so I think 2 is fine enough. This one still obviously helps you be able to close out games really easily, because you're able to, return Marcus, do that stuff for free and play out a different one, and you could easily combo this with the new Marcus as well, because you could play that for free, make a different Marcus a Digimon, and still be able to get a lot of damage out. That's really good. And this one of course is just solid overall, because if you combo it off with this one, you're able to make it really annoying to remove it, and then that way you can just blast, play out Marcus, and basically kill off any Digimon most likely, because again, if you have at least 3 Tamers out, that's like 15k, and not a lot of stuff can get around that unless like your red deck. But overall, just really solid, and this alone can help you finish out games, just because you can get like 3 security hits with just this guy alone. And again, both of them you want to see at least in your hand at any point in the game, so that's why again I went at 2 each. Now let's move on to Tamers, and in this case I was running 3 of the BT13 one, 4 of the BT12 one, and then just 2 of the BT17 one. Your BT12 one is still your most important, just because again it lets you set up for free evolutions. The memory setup one is still also really important, so of course I want to see as much as possible, and for the fact that it can gain you memory and potentially help you kill something is really good. And this one is more important mid to late game, because it could definitely help you set up a different Marcus to become a Digimon, and you do have some free ways to play it, like this Shine, this one, and then your Ace. So obviously this one's just really good for that. And overall, you mostly just want to see these guys. Your BT4 one isn't as good sadly anymore, but again, I think this ratio has been working fine for me, and obviously you could run more depending on what your setup is, but this ratio is still fine enough if you ask me. Now let's just move on to the options, and in this case I just run full physical training. And I know I run Summer Eggs, but since I run enough yellow, I can justify running the physical over the red training. And the physical training also at least grabs my yellow only pieces, so I do think that's a little bit better in this case, because I still do want to run them. Overall, it's just Soldier card, and you still want at least some Soldier. And this also just grabs your Marcuses as well, so that's still really good. Now let's get into some recommended cards, and you could still run the BT5 Goemon, because sometimes you do want to swing with your big stack and still get a draw, even though I wouldn't fully recommend it. But again, this is still one of your better draw cards for the deck. And honestly, Shine's rookies isn't really like totally interchangeable, because you can't really use a whole lot of different ones, but I think that the ones I put are still probably the best. But if you want to, you can still run Aggro X, because it's another Agumon that's a dinosaur, and it still searches for your Greymons and stuff, so I think that's fine enough, and it's a free evolution, so it's fine. And if you want to run more yellow stuff, you could obviously just run Kudamon. It searches your entire deck, plus it also searches for yellow Tamers, which your Marcuses are. You could also run the BT16 Agumon just for another Soldier, since it does search 2 color cards. So if you want to run yellow base, you could easily run this as well. And the BT17 Agumon is still really solid, just because again it's another draw card, and you can combine this with your BT12 Marcus to essentially give you a free evolution. Also, I would recommend maybe the Pro Panda as well, just because it's a search security, and add any dual yellow card, which a lot of your higher end stuff is. For champions, there really isn't much I would recommend other than the BT17 Geo, just because it's similar to the Agu, but instead of a draw card, you get plus 3k, so you could just make this a really big beat stick, which sounds kind of funny in my opinion, but it is what it is. And if you could also run hybrids if you want to do like Marcus hybrid, that's still a valuable option, but I think this is just your best other Geo Greymon if you just didn't want to do any of that stuff. I also think Rise Greymon X Antibody is still extremely solid, just because it's another way to free play a Tamer, and if you do have Rise, which most of the time you would, you'd be able to get the minus 2k, And the fact that it gets really buff is also really valuable, because that way you can just have this sit on the board, swing over something, and remove it by battle, which is really nice. And I think that the BT2 Rise can also be pretty solid. While you don't get the on play effect, I think that since Shine could also go aggressive on its main stack, you could use the plus security check on the main body, and I think it can combo off with Shine Burst really well. And the only other mega I would really recommend is just the BT13 ShineGreymon, just because it's another way to make a mark as a blocker, and the alt horns to basically give something minus 6k I think can be really powerful and a really nice control card as well. Final Shining Blast is still another really solid option I think, just because it can give minus 12k until the end of their turn, which can be very tricky for some Digimon. And again, it free plays a Marcus, so that's really solid as well. And Crimson Blaze can be very nice just because you can DP reduce some guys, and this can put them in range for that, so again, very solid. And Shining Blast is more or less just the same thing as Final Shining Blast, except that, it goes a little bit wider, so depending on your meta, you might find this to be a little bit more helpful. And I didn't put it here, but, Samurai's Buster could also work as well, so if you want to put that, you could do that if you want to. And then final option I'm going to go over is Awakening of the Sun. This is a way to free play a Marcus, and say one of your tamers is deleted, say if you swing with your BT12 Marcus, it dies, and then you're able to pretty much go into any ShineGreymon name from your hand, and that could be pretty good I think, just because again, you do want your tamers to sometimes die. This could basically be a free evo. And you could also put in Ruin Mode. I didn't put it in the list here, but again, I think that's kind of just because it's a pricey card. Ruin Mode does still fit the theme, but I don't think it's needed, just because I think the burst modes basically do the job fine enough. And that pretty much is the deck profile. I really want to hear how you guys like to play ShineGreymon. Do you guys like to play a more control version or just a more really aggro version? I think with all the new yellow pieces, you can either play either side, because again, really effective DP minus tools along with just being really aggressive. And again, I just still really love a lot of the new pieces we got, and I still wish that again someday we get even more and cooler Shine support, because of all the tamers interacting with your Digimon, I just find very cool, and I really like this gimmick that ShineGreymon has now. Again, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned to my future videos. See you guys later.